Ever since the very first Bailey Unicorn was introduced, the fixed near-side bed Valencia single-axle model has been the most popular in the range, although these days the fixed twin-bed Cadiz and the transverse island bed Vigo are catching up with it. But what about if you fancy the idea of a Valencia but don't feel it's got quite enough space for you? Well, for around £2,000 more, a shade over £23,500 in total, you can have this. It's the Bailey Unicorn Barcelona. It features the same fixed near-side bed layout, but with an extra half a metre or so inside. It's a shade under 8 metres in length in total. It's good to see here on the offside that every service point is here, even the fridge and the electric hookup. And there's a few more things to see over on the near side. 2 external locker hatches, and towards the rear there, a 230 volt power point and an aerial socket, ideal if you like watching telly in your awning. But then of course this is a top spec caravan, so we've got everything else you'd expect. Alco secure wheel lock points, Alco ATC and an AKS hitch stabiliser. The only slight oversight for me is the fact that there are heavy duty steadies at the back, but only standard ones at the front. Bearing in mind that this van has an MTPLM of 1,723 kilos, it does seem surprising that there wouldn't be heavy duty ones all round. Now it's blowing a gale outside, as you may have heard already, and even though Bailey have kindly let us use their rather smart new training centre today for filming, I'm rather keen to get aboard because the Aldi central heating has been on for the past hour or so. Oh, it really is lovely and warm in here. That Aldi heating really is a must for a top spec caravan these days. Initially, the lounge doesn't feel wildly different to that of the Valencia, if I'm honest. In fact, this sofa is the same length in both this twin axle version and the single axle. That said, the lack of bulkheads in here does make it feel rather lovely and airy. And of course there's that fantastic front window, which is a feature of every Unicorn model. There's plenty of storage in here, including some nice options such as this drop-down flap, which makes the most of the storage space in the bed box here on the offside. The other half is taken up by the boiler for that Aldi unit. There isn't one of those access hatches on the other side, but of course you do get external access to that bed box. At the front here there's the usual pull-out table above the chest, and of course a lovely big front shelf which has a couple of 230 volt sockets, a 12 volt socket and an aerial point, so you can use it for your TV. There's another TV point here on this massive sideboard, and it's here in the middle of the van that you really do feel where that extra space is over the single axle. And there's a vast amount of storage options, which of course is what you need when you're going to be spending an awful lot of time in the van. Beneath the sideboard we've got a trio of drawers and a rather nice sideboard cupboard. And there's another nice touch. At the end of the bench here you'll find a little shoe cupboard. Over here on the off side of the van we've got the expected dual fuel hob and separate oven and grill. It is a shame that the microwave is mounted directly over it, although it is a reasonable height, it's not too high. One other thing that I would have liked to have seen, particularly bearing in mind that people will spend a lot of time in this caravan, is an omnivent to get rid of those cooking smells. We've actually only got this mini Hecky roof light above. Otherwise there are a few quibbles about this kitchen. It's really good size, there's plenty of worktop, and of course there's the obligatory flip up worktop flap should you need more. There's a couple of sockets and even a natty little cocktail cabinet here to store your bottles. Underneath, because Bailey puts its gas bottles in the middle of the van, it shifts the cupboard out a bit, which rather neatly creates a visual separation between the lounge and the kitchen, but also gives you more worktop and this rather spacious cupboard beneath. And moving to the back of the kitchen, what do you need if you're going to spend time actually living in a caravan? Well, you need a proper fridge. And we've got this huge fridge with a separate freezer compartment above. The main bedroom is hidden away back here behind a fabric screen. And if you want the whole area opened up, there's a blind in the bulkhead that can be raised up too. Now these days a transverse island bed seems to be the layout of choice, but there's still definitely a place for this near side fixed bed layout. After all, the bed tends to be a bit larger. This one's 6 foot 2 inches long and feels pretty wide. Despite this being a twin axle caravan, the bedroom isn't exactly massive, and that's partly because we've got a really good sized wardrobe here on the side that often tend to be quite compromised in this layout. There's a lot of light in here though. Above me there's a large roof light, and in the side a really good sized window, so it feels good and bright. A nice welcoming view out if you get a good pitch. There's also masses of storage space. We've got 4 overhead lockers and 2 open shelves, that wardrobe of course, and underneath me there's a vast void underneath the bed. Behind the wardrobe there's a mirror, which is always handy to have in a bedroom with a shelf beneath, and underneath that we've got the storage for the lounge table. The L-shaped washroom is a good size. Swivel the toilet and there's plenty of room for your knees, and there's a decent sized radiator in here. There's a large sink with a cabinet beneath and a window above, although a shame it's not frosted. There are some neat details too. The fully lined shower is huge, with a neat moulded shelf with drainers, an eco-camel shower head and a ventilating roof light. At first it's hard to see the appeal of the Barcelona over the Valencia. After all, it's a near identical layout, it weighs quite a bit more, so you're going to need a hefty tow car to pull it, and it costs more. Not only that, but with that twin axle layout and its overall size at about 8 metres long, it's not exactly an easy thing to herd along a country lane. But then very few of these vans are going to be touring along little lanes and going to visit small villages. They're likely to spend several weeks at a time on a pitch, or perhaps the whole season. And when you're spending that much time in the van, you'll really appreciate that additional space in the middle. It's proper living space. And when you're living with it, I suspect that 10% extra cost will have seemed a small price to pay.